Oh, hello everybody. We'll get started here in about 10 minutes. I'm not going to get started early this week like I did last week, but we'll get started promptly at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hope everyone has had a wonderful week. Woohoo. Alrighty. Tonight is our final episode of our Just Flowers series. Woohoo, got all the borders cut, and we're going to get those attached tonight, and that quilt top will be complete. Boy, howdy. Hoo-wee. Okay. Let me get me some of my coffee here. Oh, I will be glad when it doesn't get dark at 5:30. At 5 to 5:30 in the evening. Boy, it just totally kills my energy levels. I'm happy it gets light. The daylight is earlier, but boy, I wish it would just stay darker, lighter a little bit longer at night. Okay. Hi, Christina. Aw. But yes, I got all my borders pieced and pre-cut according to the sizes in the instructions. There's 3 borders, an inner border, a middle border, and an outer border. And what I've done is, this is going to be the inner border here. It's the same as the background fabric. Same background fabric is on the quilt. And then this is a 2.5-inch strip. The middle border is this. This is vintage Tula pink fabric out of my stash. And it is actually from the Chipper line, which was several years ago. Oh, hi Karen, good evening. I know these early night times is, like I said just a few moments ago, it just kills my energy levels. But this is the inner border, not the inner, but the middle border. And then the outer, and this is cut at 1.5 inches. And then this will be the outside border. This is cut at 3.5. So that's what we're sewing onto our pieced unit. Let me go grab that. It's right over here. Okay, here we go. And if you remember from last Friday night, look at it. Ooh, there it is. There is our embroidery quilt top. So happy it's at this point. And I'll be using a 1/4-inch seam. Excuse me. A 1/4-inch seam, and I'm using a dove gray thread is the color thread that I'm using to do all this piecing with. I'll be using a 1/4-inch piecing foot and all that fun stuff. And I will be lightly pinning each step as I go, just to make sure I'll keep it nice and square that way. So, this will be the first set of borders. I'm just getting everything prepped. We're not actually going to start sewing for about another 5 minutes. No, about another 8 minutes. Promptly at 6. Okay. And let's see here. Make sure I start with my shortest ones. Because also my goal tonight is to have 0 seam ripping. That's always my goal. It just doesn't always work out like that. Okay. There we go. Here's my 2 longer pieces for the inner border, my 2 shorter ones. So that's all good. I will be pinning, lightly pinning tonight, and I'll be using these Tula Pink Unicorn straight pins. Let's see here, where's my mouse? Let me go to a different camera. I have fallen in love with these things. You know, notions, it makes the world go round, right? Let me swap my camera out over here. And let's see here, right there. Yes, so it's Tula Pink hardware. There we go. I have some, you see here, there's about a third of them I've already used. They're in a pin cushion over in the other room by my serger. I was going to film out of this the other room tonight, but I just couldn't get the cameras angled just how I wanted them, so I'll have to work on that tomorrow and hopefully start doing some lives out of the other room here in the next day or two. So anyway, but these are the ones I'm using. Nice, strong, sharp needles. And what's really cool about them, you know, if you're a Tula Pink fan, look at the heads on them. They are these cute little unicorn head pins. Aren't those adorable? Woohoo! Okay. Woo-wee. Okay, so everybody, I am going to get started. I'm going to start pinning is what I'm going to do before we go over here and start sewing. And let me see here. I want to make sure. Which is the top and which is the bottom. Let me have a quick look. See here. Right here. This is the way it went. This is the upper. Right here, the upper left corner is a sunflower right here. So there's not one of those particular blocks in any of the other corners, and that's how I will keep it straight in my head. So I'm going to put on, I think here, I'm going to attach the short ones to the sides, the long strips to the top as I move throughout this entire process. Okay, so here we go. First, what I do, I will find the midpoint on a border that I've pre-cut. And these are cut to size, everybody, which really, when you do that, you cut them to size, you're going to end up with a very square quilt. Oh, Merry Christmas, Stephanie. Thank you. Okay, so here we go. Okay. There's a center for that one. Let me get the center on this one. And why I do this, if I just sewed them on without any pinning, I guarantee you some would actually look like they're shorter than one. They wouldn't come out evenly. And this is how you ensure that they're going to come out nice and square and even when adding borders. Okay, so there are those. So first off, I'm going to take this side of the quilt here. And I'm going to get its center point. And it won't always line up on a seam. It just so happens this one does. There's a seam right there for its center, so that makes it easy. Right there. So right there on this seam right here is the center of that side. Just going to line up the pin with that center seam and repin it. Then I'm going to pin each end. And how I came up with the sizes of my borders. And this is for any quilt, everybody. Good evening, Donna. what I'm doing, I'm putting a pin in the very end. I've pinned the center. Now look, see how that lines up? That's what you want. But what I did, I took 3 measurements across the width of the quilt top, and I did the math and wrote it down. This is square, so mine measured 48.5 by 48.5. Okay. So I knew that's what size these strips are cut, that 48.5. If you do one, you might come up with a different number depending on your seam allowances. Not everybody has, even though we all strive for a 1/4 inch seam, that doesn't always work out in the end. And some, it might be a 1/2 inch difference. And that's just something you'll have to do. But anyway, I wrote that number down. And then I figured my 2.5 inch strips, and I worked it out on paper as to what I would actually have to cut all the strips, working out all the way around what those would come to. Okay. There we go. Now that side is all nice and pinned, ready to go. Now I'm going to pin down the other side. Okay. Going to pin down the other side. Just going to lower this a little bit. There we go. Oops. There we go. And see where this center is. It may not be on a seam. It might be in the center of a block, and it is. It's on the center of that block. So I'm going to put a pin where the center of that block is. There we go. And now I know where to line up the center of the border with. So just match the pins together. Match the pins. Okay. And just like before, 1 on each end. First do the center and the 2 ends, and then 1 in between the center and the end on each side. So it takes a total of approximately 5 pins. I want to tell you, everybody, there is, in the part of the country I live in, there is some kind of a virus going around. And Michael and I, we have had it all week. Still not up to par. But boy, howdy. It is that time of year. It's definitely not COVID or anything like that. I think this is just some type of a cold virus that's going around in our area, and we both got it. We have both been varying levels of sickness all week, and it's just not fun. It has not been fun, I will tell you that. Okay, so I have that pinned. Next, we are going to sew those 2 borders on. Okay. Next, we're going to sew those 2 borders on. Let me swap over to a different camera. There we go. There's my 1/4 inch. Let me turn on. I'm going to turn on my laser guide beam on this machine. And let's see here. There we go. Now we're all set. Okay. And we're putting on, we're working on the inside, the inner border. There are 3 borders we're going to put on around this. And the finished size of the quilt will actually be approximately 62 by 62 inches. At least that's what mine worked out to be. As you can see, just by doing a little bit of pinning, it makes this process super duper easy. Because what I basically did, I took my time and got all my raw edges aligned. I don't have to fiddle and fuss with it as I'm feeding the fabric through the machine. Okay. There's one side. Let's get the other side now. Karen, I'm doing the sides first. Hi, Coralie. No, I'm doing the sides first. That way my longest part of my border will be on the top and the bottom, which is how I load it in the long arm. You could do it either way. It really doesn't matter, to be perfectly honest. It's just a matter of personal preference. And that's just how I prefer to do mine. You could totally do the top and bottom first, or the sides first. I personally like to do the sides first. Simply because when I load this quilt top in my long arm frame, I have a nice the long piece of that border will have no seams in it to do the basting as I baste it into the on top of the backing and the batting. Okay. There we go. As you can see here, go swap to my other camera here. Because next we get to do some more pinning. Come here, you. There you go. Okay. So as you can see, there's that 1/4 inch seam right here. When you open that up, check it out. This is the inner border right here. Okay. Now we're going to put this onto the top and bottom next. Okay. 1, 2, 3. That'll be the center right there. Just put a pin there. Okay. Then, for my next 2 border strips, and just like before, I'm going to put a pin in the center of each one of these border strips. Yes, Karen, I do use that sometimes as well. Love the digital dual feed foot. Okay, there's that one. Let's put a pin in the center of this border strip. Many walking feet now actually have interchangeable sole plates that have those 1/4 inch piecing feet and the stitch in the ditch plates, but they're not electronically controlled like the digital dual feed foot is. However, the point I'm trying to make, if you have a machine that doesn't take that digital dual feed foot, you can still buy a walking foot and get some of the same benefits that you would otherwise have only with that digital dual feed foot. God, I hope that made sense. Okay. Yay. It's always nice to know your math works out, which is what I just learned. Go. Let's get this other side down. There we go. Let's do the total other side. And once we get these 2 sewn on, that will be the inside border completed. Now that everybody, that digital dual feed foot, I always use that to do my binding on a quilt with. There is nothing better, I have discovered, to attach binding. Quilt binding, let me rephrase that, quilt binding, than with that digital dual feed foot. Okay, we are ready to go on this one now. Okay. Slid off just a little bit right there. I'll just go back and even that seam up. There we go. What I mean by slid off, it got a little narrow for me because the fabric slipped and pulled to the left. If that happens to you, it happens to everybody. You just have to go back and go over that seam with the actual full 1/4 inch seam allowance and you're good to go. Okay. Moving right along now. Okay, there we go. That one is done. As you can see there, there is the actual corner. Right there, the inside border. Woohoo. Oh, Karen, that will be lovely. That digital dual feed foot will be very handy for a t-shirt quilt because there is a lot of layers to one of those and a lot of thickness as well. There we go. Hi, Vanessa. Welcome. Now, like I was saying earlier, we both have been sick, And I would tell you, Wednesday was our 9th wedding anniversary, and we were too sick to even get out of the house. So we postponed our anniversary dinner. Maybe Sunday if we're filling up to it. We'll see. We're not completely well yet, so it may get moved out for another few days. Well, Kara, do a test and see how it feeds. You may not have to make any adjustments at all to it as far as that goes. I've never had to make an adjustment for as far as the foot pressure, but you never know. I don't think you'll need to make an adjustment to it. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, it's that time of the year, isn't it, Karen, for rain and all that fun stuff. Let's find our next two strips. This will be our middle border. This is vintage Tula Pink fabric. I happen to have, I think 3/4 of a yard, which gave me enough to do this inner border with it. But I think it really it's going to look great. Check this out here. Let me hold this up here to this. It's going to go right over here. There we go. Get an idea of a preview what that'll look like on it. But this is from what was called the Chipper line. It's quite a few years old. So I dug in my stash to have just the right, since this is all Tula Pink fabric except for the background, I wanted to make sure I had some of this for the border as well. And let me find my two shortest ones here. Okay. Oops. Just getting all the ends even up here, then letting them dangle. It's two different sizes. If I'd been more organized, I would have marked them. But there's my two short ones. I can already see. There's my ends. So there's my two short ones right here. So these are the first ones I'll put on. That leaves me my two longer ones for the top and bottom. Okay. So these two will go on the sides. And yes, I am going to mark the middles of them. Woohoo! You know, at least the vertigo has stopped. It was really bad for about 2 days, which made going up and down the stairs here quite the adventure, let me tell you. Because even if you're sick and when you have a fur baby, you still have to get up and take them outside for their regular walks and stuff. So, yay. That was fun. Puffin was very cognitive that we were not up to par as far as that goes, and he was very patient. And he hasn't left our sides the whole time that we've been sick. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead, while I'm doing this, I'm going to mark all of my inner borders with their middle position. That way I'll have that step done. It actually warmed up here today. It was up in the upper 40s today. It's been cold. pin in each one of those. And these are my long strips, so they go on the top and the bottom. Come here, you. Okay. There's that one. And we'll mark this one. Okay. Now I can pin my next goodies together. I just need to mark my center on this side, just like before. Pin right in the center there. We're going to get that one pinned in. Okay. I'll back this camera out just a bit. Wrong way. There we go. Okay. There's that pin. Let me match these two pins up together. Then we'll have the centers aligned. The center of the border strips aligned. Right there. Okay. Then one on pin down the ends. There on the ends. And since these are lining up perfectly, I know my math was correct. And I'm just going to put in 3 pins now. I don't need to put them in the center like that, like I was doing earlier. If you're more comfortable with that, you can. If you were using Wonder clips, you could do that as well. So we're going to go ahead and get this one stitched down. Liz, I used Superior Magnifico. It's a trilobal polyester embroidery thread. And all the fabric, except for this gray background, all the applique fabric is Tulip Pink True Colors. I also think, and I didn't have enough, or I would have done it in Kaif. Excuse me. Because I think Kaif fabric would have been beautiful to use in the appliques on this as well. I just didn't have enough of a variety of Kaif to do that. probably will make some more of these. And I'll probably do one in cave. I'm going to make some of the smaller versions of it next, like the wall hanging size. Those could be fun. Okay. Now we'll do the opposite side. Check it out though. Check at this. There's going to be our little, this will be a 1 inch, when it's finished, it'll be a 1 inch border. Okay. Now we'll come to this side. Opposite side. We're going to find our center. Then we're going to pin our center, which is right here. Then we're going to match up the two centers by winding up the pins. Right there. Get my fingers to work here. There we go. Right there. And we'll just pin each end and we'll be ready to sew. You could use wonder clips instead of straight pins if you wanted to. There we go. Alrighty. Yeah, we'll get that edge sewn down. Okay. Tell you, I really need to put the straight stitch plate on, but I will muggle through it. There we go. Okay, now we have 2 more to go. I'm going to get the center of this side marked with a pin. 2 more borders added, and we'll have 2/3. We'll be moving on to the final border after the next 2 strips. Okay, right there. There's that one. I'm just going to match my pins. And then repin it. Then pin each end. Now, of course, in the real world, you might want to press each step of the way if you wanted to. But when I do stuff on camera, I can also press at the very end and basically get the same result. So it's all good. I'm just being careful, everybody, making sure my raw edges are aligned over here as I guide the fabric into the foot. That way your borders will lay nice and straight onto your quilt. Check out that corner. That is with the inner border. One more of these strips to put on and that inner border will be complete. Let's get the center of this one marked. Come here, you. There we go. There's that center. And here's this other strip that we already marked with the center of our pin. Excuse me. Okay. And we'll just put a pin on each end. We'll be ready to stitch. Okay. There's that one. And that one. Okay. Let's get that side stitched down. Before we do that, I'm going to have a sip of my coffee. Okay, here we go. See right there, that is coffee. Okay. And now we'll get this one going. There we go. Okay. Grab that center pin. And just pinch those raw edges together about halfway between the end and that center pin. Make sure it's laying nice and flat as I feed it through. Vanessa, if you're still on here, I really need to go to Hancock's in Paducah and pick up some fabric. I want to order it online, but then go pick it up. So I'm going to order quite a bit. Planned on doing it before now because I have a couple of quilts to deliver in southern Illinois. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, that's the inner border completely done. I sure will, Vanessa. I know I need to go over towards Fairfield, that family over there. I need to also go to Louisville, have a quilt to deliver in Southern Illinois, and then this is to family, and then one down in Louisville to my sister. Hoping to get that done before the holidays hit here. I'm running out of time. They're done. I just have to get feeling well enough to make the drive. Okay. There's a short one and a long one. That gets me closer. Let's see what this is. Okay. Oops, wrong camera. Let me move my camera here. Get to a different camera. There we go. Okay. There's my two short ones right there. It's the two I need first. These are my long ones. They'll go on last. So I'm going to get the centers of all of four of this. These are my outside borders. I have 4 border strips left. And this puppy will be done, completely done. The quilt top will be completely done, I should say. It's going to be a while before I'll get to quilt it because I still have three quilts to get quilted and 1 kimono to get made for customers for Christmas. And I got like 9 days to get it done. So I may not make it down to Southern Illinois until after Christmas. I just don't know how that's going to play out yet. We'll see. I lost a whole week because of whatever virus we've had. And oh my goodness. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. It is what it is. That's a long one. I can go over there. This is the other long one. Okay. Now then. The last set of borders. So last set of borders here. I'm going to find my center on this side. Right there. And we'll get one of these that we've already put a pin in and line up the centers as before. Put a pin in each end. Alrighty, it is good to go. Let's get that one sewn in. Okay. Do 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 do. Okay, there's one of them. One of them on. Let's have a look. This will really give you a good idea what that border is going to look like. Here we go. Oops. Get this way. Here we go. Pretty. I like it. Let's do the opposite side. To be right here. Oops. Hand hit the camera. Let's just pan that back around. There we go. Woohoo. Then let's mark the center of this side. There. And we'll line up the center of that border. Line up those two pins. There we go. Then one on each end. I also had a really nice turquoise fabric. It was actually one of the current Tulas, the turquoise hexagon fabric. But I tell you what, this, I auditioned both it and this fabric won. So either one would have looked nice. I think I'm just going to use, I'm not going to use I'm going to use just some of this gray fabric from the background and the borders and just do that kind of a binding so that the binding will just actually blend into the borders is what I'm planning on doing for binding on this one. It's got enough color in it, I feel. Okay. Let's get this one sewn in. There we go. Okay. Okay. Tell you what, everybody. After this one, there's only 2 more borders strips to attach. Woohoo! Now, all of you that have been following this series, I think you can see just how long it takes to make something like this. I mean, some of those blocks took an hour and a half to stitch out. And I've always been asked, why does a quilt, the people that are looking to buy quilts, why does a quilt cost so much money? Well, I will tell you, if I figured up the hours involved in just this one here, even at $10 an hour, it would be a pretty good chunk of money for the labor, let alone the cost of all the fabric and thread and everything, and stabilizer. But if anybody ever asked you why quilts cost so much money, have them go to YouTube and watch this series, and they'll get an idea of just how much work goes into one of these things. Okay, 2 more borders. Let's find the center on this side. Isn't that pretty though? Look at that. Woohoo. Okay. There. Okay, there's that center. The unicorn head denotes the center. Okay, I'll try not to be too silly about these things. But there we go. Match up the little unicorn heads. Okay. pin on each end. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put an extra pin in the center here. I think so too, Mark. It was a lot of stitches. And that was just embroidery stitches. We're not counting the seaming or the quilting or anything. It'll take, to quilt this, is probably going to be 100 to 150,000 quilting stitches once it's in the frame. Okay. Let's get this side sewn down. Alrighty. One more to go, everyone. Woohoo. I can really get a look at what that corner will look like. Hold on here. There we go. That's what the triple border looks like. Okay. Let's get that last one put on, then we'll get a good look at it. Get that, that center pin put in. Yeah, I hit my camera. Hold on. There we go. There we go. Oops. There we go. Okay. I tell you what, with all these wires and cameras and stuff, it's a wonder I haven't tripped and broken every camera I owned. Or it's sometimes what you don't see is the whole all the cables on the floor and the odd position you have to get in so that everything can kind of appear natural on a camera, or as natural as possible, especially when you're live. But it's all good. There's the center for our last side. Open up. There we go. Okay. There's that. Now we already had the center pin in this piece. Let's line those two pins up. There we go. And one in that end. Perfect. Oh, thank you, Karen. Okay. All right, let's get that one sewn on. Okay. And here is our last piece to sew onto this quilt top. Our last piece of fabric right here. And for the back of this quilt, I have this same fabric that I'm going to use on the back as well. Do. Okay. Okay, here we go. Getting close to the end of the seam. It's okay, Bobo. And there we go, everybody. There is our last stitch for this quilt top. Check it out. Little corner there. Woohoo. Let me swap to this other camera and we'll give you a bigger view of it. Give me some coffee. Get my coffee cup in hand here. Okay. There we go. Hi, hello there. Let me give me some coffee. Move this camera right here out of my way. And here we go. There we go. There it is. Just flowers, everybody. Just flowers. Woohoo! All done. 6, 7, 8 months later, it is complete. Woohoo! Oh my goodness. What a journey. So now that they have the last video for the construction of the quilt top done, everyone, I will be editing all of these episodes in a much more condensed version. So if you really want to make one of these, you can buy the pattern and then follow along, and there won't be such a long video to have to watch, so that you can see how that was done. God, I hope that made sense. Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Karen. Oh, wonderful, Janelle. Thank you. Yeah, I went through my stash, and I had just enough of this vintage Tula fabric right here for that inner border to put onto this, and it actually was perfect. It pulls out a lot of the purple and other pinks and everything that's in it, and the teal, so I was really happy with that. That was from the Chipper line of fabric. Puppy, come here. He hears something. I don't know what he hears, but we'll go check it out here in just a moment. But listen, everybody, I'm going to try to be on here tomorrow. Let's see how I feel in the morning. Been super sick lately, and I honestly didn't know if I'd be on here tonight, but I have spent most of the day in bed and reserved my energy so I can come on here tonight and finish this up. I'll be right there, Bobo. But thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I will come up with a new project to begin next Friday night. And it might be that French Roses is what I'm thinking of. I'm not 100% sure yet. Or we may just do an IQ designer, have an IQ designer night. I don't know yet. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and hopefully I will see you tomorrow. And hugs and kisses to everybody. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Mark. Love each and every one of you, and I will see you very soon. Good night, everybody.